Hi, welcome back to another episode of the Business of Beautiful Spaces. Today we're speaking with Kathleen Barnes. Kathleen is a web strategist and designer with over a decade of experience in the corporate digital e-commerce world, but now specializing in working with specifically interior designers, and she creates websites that go beyond stunning visuals to become true business tools in attracting your ideal client. And let's face it, that's what we want our websites to do, right? Attract more business. So what sets Kathleen apart is her data-driven approach. Wait till you hear how exciting it is what she can do with your website before she'll even consider diving in to help you out. So by leveraging these inspector tools that she teaches us about and strategy mapping, she ensures that every website aligns perfectly with your goals as the designer, as us being the client. So whether that's attracting dream clients, increasing bookings, or streamlining our processes. So Kathleen's passion lies in showing interior designers how to thoughtfully, strategically use their website and how that can transform their business. She's helped designers boost their online visibility and client conversion rates through this personalized strategies that deliver real, measurable results. I think you're going to love this episode as much as I did, especially going into business for 2025. Of course, we're all trying to find ways to get new pipeline and keep new clients coming into our pipeline. And this was a real insight. I've done a lot of interviews and podcasts with other website developers, and this was the first time I'd heard of the data-driven approach with the leveraging inspector tools, and wait till you hear how excited I get about it. So listen, I'm already getting excited about it. So sit back, have a listen. Can't wait to hear what you think about this, and let's get chatting with Kathleen. Hi there, interior design lovers. Welcome back to the Business of Beautiful Spaces, the podcast where we blend design inspiration with all behind-the-scenes tips and tricks you need to thrive in your business. I'm your host, Laura Thornton, and with over 27 years in this interior design game and running a 7-figure design company, trust me, I've seen it all. I want to be your interior design bestie. I want to help you build the business of your dreams, make more money, and yes, ditch the stress along the way. I've been doing this for a long time, and now I'm sharing my knowledge with all of you, my fellow designers and decorators. All I ask in return is that you like, review, and follow this podcast wherever you listen, so other designers can find us and learn more too. So grab a coffee, get comfy, and let's dive into making 2025 your best business year yet. Welcome back to this episode of the Business of Beautiful Spaces. Thanks so much, Kathleen, for joining me today. I really appreciate you being here and going to share all your wisdom with us.
Yeah, thanks, Laura. I'm so
you're most
excited to be
welcome.
here.
I'm glad you're here too, because this is going to be launching in the beginning of 2025 when designers are looking at the new year and planning ahead. And I'm sure there's a lot of seasoned designers and, all the way from newbie to seasoned thinking about redoing their website. I know it's something that's always on my to-do list. And I know I really want to dive in and talk about the website and how we can use your tips and tricks to make it better. But before we do that, would you give me a bit about your background and how you ended up working very specifically in this world of designers and decorating?
Yeah, so over the past 10 years, I've been working in the corporate world, primarily in e-commerce. So I've learned pretty much everything around websites, have a very deep understanding of how websites work. And then over the past year, I've had the opportunity in my business to work with several interior designers. And that's kind of just when things just started clicking for me. I have a passion for home design, just from doing DIY projects myself to appreciating beautiful spaces. And it just felt very natural for me to combine my love for web design with working with interior designers. And when I started working with them, I started to see a lot of reoccurring themes. And they wanted to attract high-end clients. They wanted more inquiries, more bookings, but they weren't quite sure how their website could help them do this. And so I really saw the need to provide the value to interior designers and show them what their websites could do, whether it was, creating clear messaging for attracting their ideal clients, to streamlining their onboarding processes, to connecting their e-commerce shops or LTK shops, even, increasing their conversion rates. So ultimately, at the end of the day, they could grow their business, grow their revenue, work with the people that they wanted to, and get back to why they originally started, in their business, which is designing spaces.
So interesting because this has been a real shift for a lot of designers after COVID, where everyone was stuck indoors and hated their homes, and we had this huge surge of business. And then there's been the opposite now, where we're finding it's coming back down to reality and maybe a little too far down into reality,
Hmm.
where it went in the other direction. So now a lot of designers are feeling that like that moment where what do I do now to gain more clients, new clients, not referral
Hmm.
clients. And a web page is really whether it's social media or your webpage, it's one of the first introductions a potential client could have to your business. And so you kind of touched on it and it leads in beautifully, but there's got to be some real common mistakes that you see across the board now that you're working in our industry because we are so creatively right-brained that we feel like the pictures are the most important. But the reality is, to maybe the consumer, it's
Hmm.
more than just the pretty pictures. So could you walk us through the common mistakes that you see designers making with their websites?
Yeah, so I can touch on four of them that I see most often. And the first one is not understanding your ideal client. So this would be when a lot of designers start out, they're trying to appeal to everyone out there in the marketplace. And instead of niching down and focusing on the people that they really want to work with, and that's your ideal client, that could be maybe working professionals, that could be busy families, it could be something to do around your design style. Maybe you love to incorporate bold colors and textures. You maybe have a neutral, earthy, organic vibe to the designs that you do, and you want to work with people that like those types of things. And so when you understand who your ideal client is, you're going to be able to talk to them better. You're going to understand who they are, what they like, what they don't like, what their pain points are, what their desires are. And then you can start finding out like where they're hanging out, what they're doing, how they talk, and you can incorporate that into their messaging. So that's the first mistake, really, that I see a lot of designers making. And once you kind of hone that in, and understand who you want to attract in your business and who you want to work with, it makes everything a little bit easier. The second is weak or unclear call to actions. And so your call to actions are those visual cues on your website, like a button. And what they do is they tell a visitor when they come to your website, what is that next step that they should be taking? Is that to learn more about your services? Is that to learn more about your business? Is that to, book a consultation call with you, or fill out your contact form? And so that's what those call to actions do. Those buttons guide the visitor to that next step. And if they're very unclear or you don't have them at all on your website, someone coming there is going to get very confused. They're not going to know what to do or where to go. And then they're just ultimately going to leave your website at the end of the day. The third one is not detailing out your client process. So, a lot of designers make the mistake of not showcasing what their process looks like. And when you're trying to attract high-end clients, they really expect to understand and know what that process looks like from start to finish. They really want to be guided through that. And you can do this in a couple simple steps. This could be like a simple phased approach. You could go phase 1, 2, 3, 4 from, your design consultation all the way to the installation phase. You could get more creative on your website, do this in like a timeline fashion from a step 1 all the way to 10, whatever that may be. Every designer's process is different, but making sure that you showcase that on your website is extremely important because those high-end clients need those details. And the last one would be using generic testimonials. And this is one of my favorite ones and one that's not often talked about. So generic testimonials are extremely boring. They just are. They don't really give any specific information. They're very vague. They don't show the results and outcomes that you were able to produce for a client. And so you can get really proactive instead of just asking your client to give you any kind of testimonial at the end of your project, you can get very specific and create like a form on your website, create a page with a form with 3 to 5 very specific questions. This could be things like, how did the space feel before and after working together? Did the design solve any problems or challenges that you were having? How did the design make you feel or impact the way that you were interacting with people in the space? And you can ask those tailored questions to get those specific results. So at the end of the day, you're not just getting that one generic testimonial. Instead, you're getting extremely specific result-oriented testimonials. Instead of getting that one, now you're getting 3 to 5 of them, and you can incorporate them into their website. So I really do like to talk about that one a lot.
I like all of those. I mean, the niche market is really interesting because as I get older, and done this getting closer to 3 decades, it definitely shows up more often now where, there was a time where you would just take anything and everything because you were starting a business and you needed the cash flow, and the niching down is really something that is becoming more prevalent, and rightfully so. But I love your call to action because I just had this conversation recently, and my question to you is just about that one is, do you find that that's an easier thing for the visitor to do? Click a button, give us your information, as opposed to here's our phone number. Now they have to find, one day I'll do that. And it could be 10 o'clock at night. They're not going to call us at 10 o'clock at night but if there was a button, it actually might allow for more inquiries. Is that something you have found in your experience?
Yeah, for sure. And everyone has their own personal style and way of wanting to get in touch with people. Some people don't like making that phone call at first. They want to get the information up front. And so having a button that will lead to a form to fill it out. It's also easier for the designer to kind of vet through and see,
Mm-hmm.
okay, is this person someone that I actually want to work with? Do they actually fit, my style, what I'm offering, service wise, and they can vet them out that way before maybe jumping on that initial consultation call. But I always recommend definitely having buttons on your website because that'll tell someone exactly what they're supposed to be doing, and it'll lead to higher conversions as well.
So these 4 items are things that you should have and you see that they're missing. And if you don't have a
Correct.
process, try and come up with something that allows your client to think that it's going to be a very easily guided process of working with you. But is there, besides these items, and obviously your address and phone number and where to find you, what else is considered essential in a website these days?
So there's things that are like simplified navigation. So when I'm talking about that, it's in regards to like your menu. Those are your primary pages, like your home page, about page, portfolio. And ideally, you want to have between 5 to 7 main pages. If you have any more than that, make sure that you're putting them in as like sub pages underneath that main page, because if you have too many pages in your navigation, it's almost like information overload for someone, and they're going to get very overwhelmed and confused, and they're just going to not know exactly where is their next place to go on your site. So making sure it's very simplified. Another essential element for designers is obviously your portfolio. That's a huge page for you. This showcases your work and what you've done for other people, and making sure that that stands out. So a tip here, though, I like to give that's a little bit unique than what designers are currently doing is a lot of designers today will have their portfolio page and they'll just showcase their project and just show the images. What I like to try and get people to understand is if you turn those into case studies and write a detailed story basically around, why that client came to you, what problems were they facing, challenges that they, were seeing with whatever space they were coming to you for. And then showcase how you were able to provide solutions for them, how you were able to work through the project with them, from creating mood boards to design concepts, and then ultimately showcasing that all the way through to the results that you were able to provide for them for that project. And that's a really great way for designers to stand out. A few other things would be incorporating FAQs, making sure that those are on your website to answer any common questions that people may have. And you want to make sure that you're answering those questions up front so that you're not consistently always getting the same questions. If one person has a question, most of the time someone else is going to have that exact same question. So if you can answer that on your website right up front, that really can save you a headache of, having to go back and forth with the same answer in emails over and over. And then some other things you could do would be incorporate booking tools or, adding your client onboarding forms as well to your website to hopefully streamline some of those processes, cut down on some of your emails back and forth as well with clients.
So much great information. So I'm also just going to circle back on the portfolio images becoming case studies.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to assume with more verbiage, it's really going to help your SEO. Because
Absolutely.
you're the search engine optimization, because now it's like you said, it's not just imagery, it's now these stories. And if someone else had that similar problem or whatever, whatever you've written about, those words are going to make a difference and maybe send more traffic your way.
Mm-hmm, absolutely. And SEO is really important to websites, getting you shown in rankings. And SEO comes in the form of like keywords, and you can incorporate those keywords into your copy as well as like the alt text for your images. You use them for your title tags, your meta descriptions. SEO does get very technical. So when I'm working with clients, I do like to tell them just because you didn't have SEO on your website today and then we've added SEO doesn't mean you're going to get shown on page 1 of Google. SEO does take a lot of time, and you can do that, by putting those keywords into your case studies and doing different things on your website to get that traffic there. Because the more you get traffic to your website, the more search engines rank you as credible. And then you'll start showing higher and higher in search results.
Very interesting. Such good tips. I so many more questions. I'm like, okay. So I guess do you have to ask permission of your client to write a story about them and have it on your website becomes my first question. Are they okay? Do we say to our client, is it okay if I write a case study on your project? I'm going to assume that would be imperative.
Yes, you should ask them. Just let them know that you're going to do this, but you don't have to. When you're writing a case study, you don't have to say like your clients' names or anything. You're writing about the overall project itself and just showing what you were able to do on the project and then showcasing that through the imagery that you've captured. So it's not really about your client. It's about necessarily like the results that you kind of brought through that project and talking about the process from start to finish. Certainly ask them, because in your case study too, you can incorporate very strong client testimonials around those results. And so it is important just to let them, have a heads up that you want to do that.
So we kind of just touched on that lead generation and being having the SEO elements that will start ranking you higher if you're looking at even doing ads for Google or whatever the case may be. And I'm getting that the booking tools, the certain pages we should have, the imagery becoming case studies, all of these are going to help with this lead generation. And what else can we do? Because I know once we get there, now we've created it that we have a need. I get all of this, but how do we get them there to even pitch to our ideal client or even to get our ideal client? Like, what are some things that we should also be incorporating that maybe we are not thinking is the obvious?
Yep. So there's a couple things you can do. Obviously, the messaging is really, really important on your website, because the more that you talk to someone who you ideally want to work with, you're going to be able to message things very clearly to them. But there's some other things as well. Like if you don't want to rely on Google to, showcase you on page 1, because realistically, a lot of people aren't on page 1. It takes time. There's a couple things I like to tell people that they can do with their website to help with that traffic.
And just so I'm clear, this is not paid, right? You're discussing just organically becoming.
Correct.
Okay, got it.
Yeah. These are just organic things. So let's say you have you have an Instagram page for your own business, and you know the link in bio there on there, which people click in. Some people use like Linktree, or they might use something like Smart Bio. And what you're doing by using Linktree is you're actually giving credit to Linktree every time someone
Hmm.
clicks on that. Instead, what you can do is create a dedicated page on your website with those links and the content around it that you would have similar to on Linktree. But instead, you're going to take that URL and you're going to put it into your Instagram link in bio. So when people are clicking on that link, they're going now to your website, and your website's getting credit for the traffic there instead of Linktree. A couple other things you could do is if you are creating PDFs, let's say like welcome packets or different client onboarding packets that, can be used across multiple clients. You could set them up as a page on your website and then send those clients the URL links so that you are, then getting traffic that way from people clicking those links that you're sending. And then you could also create like blog content on your website as well. And blog content's really good to showcase your expertise around different subject matters. And you could showcase them if you do like email marketing, you could put those in there. You could also showcase them as posts on your Instagram. You could put them in stories as well on your social media feed. So there's definitely a couple different ways to kind of go around and get your own traffic without having to rely on, search engines.
The blog traffic, we just engaged in that this year, and what a game changer. Like we finally
Hmm.
engaged somebody to do this for us. And, you don't realize how much that makes a difference every month to be adding in that way to your website at a very,
Hmm.
I would say, very economical price point to
Hmm.
keep changing and gaining more SEO, hopefully driven traffic, the right client focused traffic to your website and to your business, because it's a lot of money to refresh a website often.
Hmm.
And so I think it's been a great way. What I haven't seen yet, the analytics of what it actually is converting to, because we only just started engaging with it about 9 months ago. But I can see the analytics via Google, and just the amount of traffic over the last 9 months has been a lot more. And I'm equating it to the only change being the blog posts.
Hmm. Hmm.
Not an expert though, so I'm not trying to I'm going to stay in my lane, Kathleen. But but just like and again, I don't do the deep dive in the analytics as much as I should, but I have seen that uptick, and the only thing it can be is the blog post.
Yeah, and well, and when you do blog posts too, you're consistently putting out new content. It could
Hmm.
be somewhere along the same lines of something you've already talked about, but maybe you got more specific, or you went in a different direction and gave people tips and advice and solutions. And people are coming to you for, advice. They're looking at you as the expert and they want to learn from you. And so when you have blog, content on your website, it does help. And you can also then incorporate like those keywords that you really want to try and touch on and try and rank higher for. So I can definitely see why that would help you, and why you would see a little bit of a difference in your, statistics as
Hmm.
well.
And I think too, it kind of adds to a voice that maybe clients aren't getting from a website.
Hmm.
Where if you're able to read and educate and help people, maybe with, like you said, solutions, it might give them a bit more confidence, and you might stand out a bit more, is what I'm hoping anyway.
Yeah.
Fingers crossed. So how can a website filter out clients who are not our ideal client? What is a good thing to think about so we're not getting the DIYers if that's not our business, or
Hmm.
it's not the right fit? Is there something there, or is that after you have the consultation call, you just sort that out that way?
You can actually do this up front before you actually get onto that consultation call. It still comes down to your messaging and how you want to, talk about it throughout your website. You can do this through your FAQs as well. As you
Good
talk,
point.
you can really, let them know here's the ideal client, that I kind of work with. Here are the projects that I take on. Here's my price point range, and that'll filter out people there. One thing I do like to get my clients thinking about, and this is a good way to vet people out, is instead of just having that booking button on your calendar that might lead to like your Calendly, or if you're using some other integration with your website that's a booking calendar. Instead of having that there, what about if you did application forms? So maybe your contact page is more of like a general inquiry form for those general questions, but then potentially on your services page, you get more granular and you have an application form that really does say, okay, these are the types of services I do. Here's the price point range that you can select from. And this kind of, when they submit the form, it basically gives you more information that you're looking for to say, okay, yep, this is the right type of person. I actually want to take the time to jump on that discovery call with them, because your time is valuable at the end of the day. And like you said, not every client is the right client for you. And sometimes you shouldn't take on every single project that comes your way. Instead, you want to save the space for the right people. And so that's where I really, really do like talking about the application forms.
And you've said it a couple of times, so I find that really intriguing too, because it's better than just what's your name, what's your phone number, what's your email, and give us a little bit of a blurb of what you're looking for. You can probably ask much more isolated questions that are going to give you far more feedback about what you're walking into, even on that complimentary 15 to 30-minute phone call. So I know that was how we started this conversation, and I derailed you, and I apologize, but it's such good information, and that's why the way my brain works. I just keep going. I figure if I'm thinking about it, just like to your point, if I have a question, I'm going to assume that all the designers and decorators listening are also having the same question. But how do we then balance our need for the pretty, the aesthetics? We want our website to be so pretty and wowy and all those things. How do we balance the aesthetics with the actual functionality of what a website is supposed to give? Do we just trust the professional and say we trust that you know what you're doing, like we hope that our clients do with us? Or is there a way to get these two to meld together?
Yeah, I would definitely say you should definitely trust the experts, trying to help you with your service. Basically, as a web designer, we are trying to be a business partner for you. We are invested in your growth as well as a business owner. And so what I like to do is something a little bit different than other web designers out there do. And I really focus on website strategy first. And so, what website strategy is, it's the process of uncovering problems in a business and then making a plan to solve those problems through web design. And I do this in a little unique way. And what I do is I install inspector tools. And what this is a unique piece of coding that goes onto your current website. And what it does is we don't start our project immediately. Instead, like we might start a couple weeks after, depending on, the time slots. And so what I do is when you sign on, we install these inspector tools. And what it does is when someone's coming to your website, I'll be able to see, where they're clicking, where they're going and interacting throughout the website, where they're getting stuck, where they're exiting. And it's more of a data-driven approach. And it'll give me like heat mapping, it'll give me recording. So we take that data, and then along with the insights that I've talked to you about, from your goals and objectives, along with, just different research, and then we'll map it out into a strategy map. And what a strategy map is, it's basically all of your essential pages on the site. It'll talk about the user flows and behaviors. So if someone's coming from Pinterest or from Instagram, it's going to walk you through and say, okay, this is exactly what someone's supposed to be doing once they land on your website if they were to go to this particular page. And then here's how they're going to get to maybe your contact page or to fill out that form or something. And then after that whole strategy portion is done, then we actually look at the design portion of it, from, your colors, your fonts, to the imagery. And all of that is extremely important. And a way I like to relate this to with designers is, as a designer, like you're going into a client space and you're designing a room for them, let's say like their living room. And you're looking at that space from the color palettes to the potential like layout. How could you maximize like the flow and functionality of that space, to maybe incorporating pieces of furniture that might have smart storage solutions in there. And so I like to relate it in that way, because a website works in the same manner where we're trying to make it look beautiful, but there's also so much more behind the scenes in terms of functionality, in terms of strategy, in terms of getting to reach what your business goals are. Is that getting more inquiries, more bookings? Is it improving your SEO? And like, we're looking at all those things behind the scenes. So it's more than just, I think, the visual part that someone's looking at when they're, going to a website and seeing it.
I am beyond thrilled. When you're talking about data and analytics, this is where I get excited. First of all, I've talked to quite a few people who do what you do, and you're the first person that I've never heard of this, what you're talking about with I love that you're going in and looking at what already is not working with actual data, not just, well, I don't like this page. I don't love this page. I think we can do better. It's actual data-driven trends, and there's historical data that you can use. And right there, that is, I'm going to assume, your niche market. The first thing you talked about on 4 most common mistakes, because that's got to be a game changer. Like,
yeah,
that is huge. Because again, we just know it looks right. We just love that it looks good. We're not thinking about how long are they sitting on that page. Did that page scare our potential client away, or did they hang out there and look at it? Because we might think that project is our favorite project, and we put it on, and then meanwhile it gets the least amount of traffic. How amazing is that? And then I think I'm going to assume that data could actually give you the insight to what people are finding the most attractive of your professional photos that you've invested money for. Oh, Kathleen, this is very exciting. Okay, so tell me about your business then, and what other services you offer, because I have a funny feeling you're about to be bombarded. Another good problem to have, but like, I know I'm intrigued. I think this is fascinating. So I'm sure there's other people that want to know what else you can do for them, and how, lastly, to reach out to you to do so.
Yeah, so my main service is really custom web design. It's all about that strategy and developing custom websites that are tailored specifically to interior designers' businesses that are focused mainly only on their own goals and objectives. And so that's really the bread and butter of my business. But I also do offer some branding design as well, but specifically in terms of your website, like from logo design, things like that. You can find me on my website at Kathleen Barnes Consulting. It is CATHLEENBARNESCONSULTING. And then you can find me on Instagram or Facebook at Kathleen Barnes Consulting.
I will put all of that in the show notes, so that you can just go to the show notes and click on it.
It's a lot.
Well, thank you so much for your time today. This was such great information. Especially, like I said, I'm super excited about your ability to put that little nugget into your website. How thrilling is that? But thank you for your time and your expertise today. I very much appreciate it.
This was awesome. Thank you.